So listen, for those who may have missed it, Jeff Grubb came out and said that there is a PlayStation event happening in May. And when Jeff Grubb was asked whether or not this was going to be a state of play or a showcase, Jeff Grubb said it's going to be a showcase. And this makes a lot of sense. And listen, I've been talking to you guys for pretty much a year straight now about like how Sony really, I think, dropped the ball last year with their showcase. Like, I think they really dropped the ball. I think most of us are in agreement with that. Some people disliked it a lot more than others. Some people thought it was okay. But generally speaking, I just think Sony missed the mark. And you're saying 3 years straight. I mean, that's what's weird about it is like Sony really... It's been a weird generation for showcases from PlayStation so far. 2021, we got a showcase in September, and it was okay. Like, I think what saved the 2021 showcase was the God of War Ragnarok gameplay, the Spider-Man 2 announcement, and the Wolverine announcement. Outside of that, that showcase was mostly forgettable. Then you go to 2022, there was no showcase. Then you go to 2023, it was a bad showcase, and here we are now. So when I say Sony needs to deliver this time, I'm not kidding. Sony absolutely needs to fucking bring the house down, bro, this May with their showcase. Digital Dude 25 with another super chat here saying, how much do you want to bet that the main character for Ghost 2 is going to be someone completely different? Name change and all. I thought about that, Digital Dude, and I think there's a chance, yeah. I don't know how likely that is, but there's definitely a chance. Because I was thinking, I don't really know where you go with Jin Sakai. I think you can. Like, I think, without spoiling too much, I think if you want to look at Jin Sakai's character arc and that story, the way it ends, I think you can kind of take it both ways, right? Like, you could either go in the direction of, all right, that's kind of his story, right? That's his story. It's complete. Where do we go from here? Or they also kind of set up to where you can continue to do other things with this character, Jin Sakai. But the idea of having a completely new character, I mean, I was thinking to myself, like, what if it's like a descendant of Jin, right? Kind of carrying on this. But yeah, that's the thing too, right? Like, the character of Jin Sakai, he's a cool character, you know? I think he's a cool character. I think it would be nice to kind of see him, I guess up there alongside eventually maybe like Kratos and like Joel and Ellie and stuff like that, and Aloy. So my hope is that when we get a Ghost of Tsushima sequel, it's going to be more Jin Sakai. But there is the chance that they could go in a completely different direction. Absolutely. Yeah, and I don't know what they're going to call the game. I don't think they can call it Ghost of Tsushima 2, because it's probably not going to take place in Tsushima. But we'll see, Digital Dude. And thank you for the super chat. They're probably going to kill off Jin and make you the main. Oh, man. Dude. Yeah, if they want to kill their franchise, yeah, they could do that. They could do that. That would be the dumbest shit ever, man. But I know what you're getting at. I know what you're getting at, yeah. But, talking about Ghost of Tsushima, guys, listen. PlayStation Showcase is incoming next month, and come on, Ghost of Tsushima is going to be there, right? The sequel to Ghost of Tsushima has to be there. How could it not? And I'm telling you, Sony has the ability to just put the final fucking nail in the coffin for Microsoft as their competitor, but also to just kill this conversation that's been lingering for too long. This conversation that follows PlayStation, that surrounds PlayStation and follows PlayStation fans, which is, PlayStation doesn't have any games and Sony, it's the worst gen ever and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, this is the opportunity. Like, go for the fucking kill, Sony. It's about time, right? Like, it's interesting because I saw somebody in the chat a little bit ago. They were like, Sony has been delivering. Sony is delivering. I'm not talking about like the games that they've released in 2020, 2021, 22, 23. I'm talking about like in terms of, again, creating excitement and interest in the games that we don't know about. Like, that's the craziest thing, right? The timing of a May showcase makes sense because, well, think about it. We just in March, we got Rise of the Ronin, and now we're in April, and at the end of this month, we're getting Stellar Blade. But let me ask you, what's coming from PlayStation after Stellar Blade? What comes after Stellar Blade? Concord? Do I think Concord will show up? Well, that's about it. And even that still doesn't have a release date. We know Concord's set for this year, but that's it. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, sure, we could say Death Stranding 2, we could say Wolverine, but these are games that, and I don't mean, look, I'm super excited for Death Stranding 2. I think Death Stranding 2 is going to be a fucking banger. It's going to be probably one of the best games that comes out next year. No doubt about it. And I'm not trying to downplay it. Same thing with Wolverine. I'm still excited for Wolverine, as long as they don't turn it into Wokerine, right? I'm excited for it. but that's not coming till 2026. So it's like, we don't know. We don't know anything, man. Fair game. Oh my God, I forgot about fair games. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Look, I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not trying to be a hater, dude. I'm not. But I'm telling you, fair games is going to be a flop. I'm sorry. If there are any fair games fans listening to this that have a lot of hope, don't get upset with me. I'm just saying how I feel. I think that game's going to flop, and it's going to flop fucking hard, dude. Like, I think it's going to be embarrassing for Sony. That's my honest gut feeling. I would love to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Fair Games comes out and is the next fucking Helldivers, dude. I know I have to say Fair Games fans just in case. I only say that because I've seen people express excitement for that game, and I feel bad because I'm not trying to like shit on their excitement. I'm just being honest in my evaluation and my prediction, I guess I could say. And Digital Dude again with another super chat says, I really hope the rumors of another Astrobot game are true. And yes, so Digital Dude, thank you for bringing that up. Jeff Grubb followed this up. I haven't seen people reporting on this, but I think it's very relevant. Jeff Grubb confirmed that at this show, I don't know if he said it's going to be at the show, but I mean, come on. It's like, where else is it going to show up? He said there's going to be this May showcase. He also confirmed there's going to be smaller first-party titles from Sony that are releasing this year. And one of the games he mentioned is a new Astro game. And look, do I expect a new Astro game reveal to set the world on fire and blow everybody's minds? No, but dude, have you played Astro's Playroom? I'm hyped. Hell yeah. Bring me another fucking Astro game, Sony. I will absolutely play that. And the fact that it's going to come out this year, I'm all over that. So to me, that would be a great announcement to get. Finding out what Team Asobi's doing, hearing about a new Astro game. But he says there's going to be more games, not just Astro. He's saying that there's a couple of other smaller, like I guess they wouldn't be considered the big AAA banger types games that are actually going to be releasing in the next year for PlayStation. And I think that's going to be a big deal for Sony to lay that out because, again, like it makes sense. It adds up. We don't have anything lined up. We don't have anything lined up after Stellar Blade. And, you know, I'm assuming it'll be Concord. So let's lay it out, actually. For the remainder of this year, Concord, Until Dawn Remastered, and if this rumor's true, Astrobot. Not the strongest lineup, but definitely something. You know, definitely something that's like, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, Silent Hill 2. I forgot about that as well. Okay, yeah, now we're cooking. Yeah, we could. It could end up being a pretty solid second half of the year. And Digital Dude again with another super chat. Thank you for all the super chats, buddy. You're saying, what if they announce a huge Xbox first party game coming to PlayStation? Oh man, well, you know what, man? I could see Sony definitely doing that, being like, yeah, we'll take that. But I think Microsoft would be so stupid. Like, they would be so stupid if they were to allow Sony to do something like that, because it's just, that's the worst possible look you could. Yeah, they announced Hellblade 2 coming to PS5 next year. Announced the Sony showcase. Could you fucking imagine? Oh my God. It's not out of the realm of possibility though, man. To be completely honest with you, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility, but I would be quite shocked if, like, for example, a lot of people believe that Starfield is going to come to PlayStation. I don't think if Starfield comes to PlayStation, we're going to see Sony announce that at a PlayStation event. Like, there's just suddenly it would be smart as hell on Microsoft's part though. I said a moment ago it'd be stupid, but the more I think about it, I'm like, well, it's stupid and smart, right? It's stupid because you're hurting your own console, you're hurting your own fan base in a pretty severe way. But it's very smart where it's like, but if you want to sell a shit ton of copies of Starfield on PlayStation, revealing that shit at the PlayStation event would sell a lot of copies. Yeah. So it's stupid and smart at the same time. You know, there's a push and pull here. But I'll be honest, man, like, I wouldn't even care that much. I mean, it would be like, whoa, oh my God, an Xbox game at a Sony event. But I'm just totally curious about what Sony's going to have from their studios, dude. Do you think Starfield will get exclusive content on PlayStation when it comes eventually? Jeez. Sheesh, man. They can't catch a break. The Combo Clinic with a $5 super chat. Thank you, buddy. You're saying, I'm going into the showcase with expectations at level 5. I think Sony's going to lean heavy on second and third party titles. Major first party, LOL. Well, so here's the thing, Combo Clinic. I can't blame you. I don't agree with you entirely. Like, I'm not going in with that level of expectation, but I can't blame you, bro. Combo Clinic, you're saying your expectations for the upcoming PlayStation showcase in May, you're setting them at 5. So I'm assuming that's like a 5 out of 10. I can't blame you. Like, see, that's the thing it's still freezing, it looks like. That's the thing that's tough for me, is that, like, I want to go in super hype, right? Like, I'm even noticing right now that we are we are getting the closest thing to confirmation that we're going to get until Sony announces it, that a PlayStation Showcase is coming. And I'm not seeing a lot of excitement for it. Like, I'm seeing a lot of people be like, oh, cool, a PlayStation Showcase. Nice. And I could just tell, like, damn, dude, the hype just isn't really there. And I know exactly why this is. It's because, dude, like, most of these people tuned into last year's Showcase, and they're a little bit worried about getting excited because they don't want to be let down. They don't want to be disappointed. And that's where it's like, yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, when I say Sony needs to deliver this time, that's exactly what I mean. Like, you can't let people down. The time has come, dude. The time has come. We have Smokey the Wolf saying, thanks for the great content, MBG. I expect that Sony will tease some bangers, but save most for the back end of the year. Well, first off, you're welcome, man. I'm glad you enjoy the content. Thank you for tuning in and supporting it. Yeah, so that's another thing too. I do suspect that any major reveals we get from Sony, I don't think it's going to be like, I mean, you're saying like their teases. I think they'll kind of be an in-between where it's not just going to be like a 30-second tease necessarily, but it'll be something it's like we're not just going to see like a full-blown gameplay trailer, which would be a little bit disappointing. I'm going to try to drop my camera to 30 FPS and see if I'm actually getting pissed off at this point. Is there even any difference? Guys, I just dropped my stream to 30 FPS. Well, I dropped my camera to 30 FPS. Does anybody notice any difference? Does it look like Hellblade now? The irony. MBG bitched so much about Hellblade being 30 FPS. Now he has to present it's filmic. Is it cinematic, guys? And he gets some letterboxing. Dude, that would be the funniest shit ever if I just added letterboxes, like just a letterbox output to the screen. We'll see if that fixes it or not. I'm just desperate to stop the constant freezing of the camera because it's been going on for too long. I need more teraflops to stop the freezing. Shit. But yeah, to get back to what you were saying, Smokey, I do think that there are going to be some projects that are just flat out teased, like where we're really not going to get too much info. I hope that's not what happens with Ghost of Tsushima. Like, I do think Ghost of Tsushima is going to be there. I hope we get like at least a minute long cinematic trailer with maybe a few snippets of gameplay, maybe. But that's the thing though, man. Is like the reality of Sony's situation is they don't have to do much to deliver. You know, like that's kind of the question, right? Like, okay, well, what does Sony need to do in order to actually deliver? Well, the reality is they don't have to do a whole lot. There's basically two important things that they have to do, and the way in which they do it isn't so important as much as just them actually doing it. Number one, lay out the next 9 months, right? Like from June to March of next year, give us an idea and tell us what we're going to be playing from you. Like if you're a PlayStation 5 owner, what exclusive games are you going to have to play between June 2024 and March 2025? So that's the first thing they have to do to deliver. The second thing they have to do to deliver is show us the pipeline, show us the roadmap beyond that. We know Death Stranding 2 is coming next year, but outside of that, we don't know when Wolverine's coming, and we don't know about any of these other projects. So again, they don't have to come out and be like, here's 5 minutes of gameplay of Sony Santa Monica's new IP. We don't need that. I would love to get that, but what they need to do is, here's Sony Santa Monica's new IP. Maybe, would they give a release year? Maybe. Could they say like targeting 2026? Maybe. But that's really all they have to do. Just let us know. It can't be a fucking logo either, by the way. I want to make that clear. Like they can't just say like Sony Santa Monica, name of the game, and then that's it. They can't just, like, to be clear, that's too little. Like that's just not going to do it. There has to be a proper trailer. You don't have to have a release year yet. Just let us know it's being made for PS5 and it's a new game coming from Santa Monica. You do stuff like that. Here's Ghost of Tsushima 2, targeting 2026, or if not a release year, just coming to PS5. Here's Santa Monica's new IP, coming to PS5. You do a couple of things like that alongside letting people know what you're going to be playing over the next 9 months. You're totally good. Like, I'm telling you, Sony will be golden at that point. That's what people are going to tune in to see. They're not tuning in. Well, I mean, everybody will tune in for their own reasons, but nobody's tuning in to walk away from that showcase being like, where are the games? You know, everybody should leave this year's showcase saying, I've seen the games and I know the games and the games are coming. You know, like that's what they should be saying. Did Abandoned genuinely get abandoned? Yes. Digital Dude 25 again saying with a $2 super chat, Blue Point's Uncharted remake / new game. Well, I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Digital Dude. You think about it. When's the last time we heard from Blue Point besides the acquisition? The last time Blue Point shipped a game was at the launch of the PS5. That was in November of 2020. So we're approaching nearly 4 years since we've heard from Bluepoint. I'm not saying I necessarily am fully expecting them to show up, but yeah, I mean, it's like that is a studio that sounds like it's very plausible that they would be ready to announce their next game. So we'll see, man. I'm very curious to see what Bluepoint's working on. We got Whiskey Gaming here using his milestone chat. Longtime member, Whiskey Gaming, a member for 38 months. Whiskey, thank you so much for that, bro. You're saying, yo, yo, yo. Hope everyone is having a great Friday. Excited to share with you guys that I finally found a house and will be closing on the 23rd. P.S. Boss will make an appearance. Boss will make an appearance. Well, congratulations, Whiskey Gaming. I'm happy to hear that. I remember you telling me that you were kind of, out there trying to figure out buying a home, getting involved with all that. So congrats, dude. I'm happy to hear that you're going to be a new homeowner. Everything's working out. Closing on the 23rd. That's not long from now, dude. That's just a couple weeks. So good stuff, Whiskey Gaming. You're going to make a dedicated gaming room? Is that part of your plans? Let me see. And Josh McGill, member for 15 months, says, PlayStation Showcase, bring on Ghost 2. Whiskey Gaming says yes. So he is planning on a gaming room. Nice, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, I hope it comes together well, man. Dude, all right, come on. Killer in the chat says, PlayStation really needs to step their game up. Xbox needs some serious competition right now. Yeah, man. Sony, where's your 8-hour 30 FPS cinematic experience? Come on. Come on now, Sony. Where's your... What is Sony going to deliver to compete against Avowed, bro? Have you guys not seen Avowed? What's Sony going to do? I'll be honest with you, man. The only thing... Look, Hellblade looks like it'll be fine. Indiana Jones looks like it might be pretty good. I don't know. I think people need to see more of it, but please, man. Like, I know you're trolling, but it's just funny that people actually think that. People actually think Fable's not coming this year. I think we'll see Fable this year, and may the Lord have mercy on that game's soul. The internet is not going to be kind to Fable, no matter what it looks like. No matter how good the gameplay of Fable is, people are not going to be kind to that game, and you know why. You already know why, dude. They have it, dude. Listen, Microsoft has a unique opportunity right now. You can change what you need to change, so that way people aren't so annoyed with your game. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying an opportunity has presented itself. It's up to you whether or not you want to take that. Clockwork Revolution. What is that? Is that a real game? I'm not even trying to troll. That doesn't ring a bell. I feel... Is it? I don't know. Who's making that? See, that gets me excited. State of Decay 3 is apparently going to be shown at Xbox's showcase. That gets me excited. I would love to see State of Decay 3. Dude, I'll be straight up right now, dude. If there's one game that I actually like, please, Microsoft, bring this game to PlayStation, it's State of Decay 3. I hope it, dude. My whole thing with State of Decay 3, though, I'm telling you right now, like, I have this pipe dream of these games that come from Microsoft Studios that have this potential. Like, please make them AAA. Like, really realize their full potential. And my hope is that with a game like State of Decay 3, it does get the AAA-ification, right? Like, I want to see a AAA State of Decay because it has the potential to be really fucking awesome. And that's my hope, is that when we see State of Decay 3, it will be a AAA game, because I'm sorry, man, like, State of Decay 2 was good, but it still felt like a really kind of just like a much smaller game. Like, it still felt very AA, even more indie-ish. It was still good, but I'm like, dude, this could be so much more if they just realize their full potential. Yeah, I don't know. If State of Decay 3 is like another AA game, I'm going to be fucking furious, bro. And I say this just because, like, they have the ability. Like, if there's any game, I think that Hellblade 2 and State of Decay 3, dude, these are two games that have no business being AA or smaller. They have no business being smaller games. These are games that started small that should be much bigger now. And maybe that's just my bias, but I really do feel that way. But we'll see, man. Crackdown 4. Oh, geez. Please, no. Don't. We got Titus Crow saying, it's not whining. It's the right way we should approach this situation. I guarantee if this was Sony, you would be as angry. I would be. And that's the thing, is like, in this specific conversation, talking about Hellblade, here's where I think the disconnect lies. A lot of people were tuned into my stream yesterday, and they were like, why do you care? Right? You're not really an Xbox guy. You're a PlayStation guy. Why do you care? And I tried my best to answer that, but something I feel like I don't know if I didn't say it, but maybe I didn't articulate it well enough, is that it kind of falls back down to who's really like pushing the industry forward versus who's not. Who's pushing the competition further versus who's not. And I did talk extensively about this, but if Sony, let's just think of it like this. Let's say Sony bought Ninja Theory instead of Microsoft. And right now, everything's happening the exact same way. The exact same way. Except it's Sony Interactive Entertainment instead of Xbox Game Studios. Now, that's the important thing, is everything's exactly the same. I would still have set up that stream, and I would say about 75% of that stream would have been exactly the same. I would have been just as pissed, just as annoyed, but there's one critical component that would have been removed from that stream. And what would have been removed is, for as annoyed and as pissed off or as frustrated as I am that this game from Sony, from Ninja Theory, is shorter and it's only 30 FPS and I'm questioning all these things, I would at least be able to take a step back and say, but you know what? Sony has proven a lot in this area. So maybe this is, if not a slip up, a anomaly. This is a very different type of first party single player experience from Sony that's not akin to all their other studios, right? It's not going to be a 20-hour experience. It's not going to offer us 60 FPS mode, 120 FPS mode, 40 FPS. It's not going to do any of these things. It's just, this is what it is. I would still be bothered by, like, why are all these things missing? And why is everything so different with this game? But I would be able to look at Sony as a whole and say, but you know what? You've proven a lot, and I still trust you, and that this is just an anomaly. The thing that stings the most for me with this game being under Microsoft is that, and I've talked about this many times before, it's just the sheer potential that Ninja Theory has. I don't know if they still have it. I would assume they still have it, but they have this potential where it's like, dude, they need somebody to come in there. And I'm not saying like take over and strong arm the studio. I'm not saying in an aggressive way, but come in and be like, guys, listen, you can take things to the next level, and we want to help facilitate that. Now, who knows? Maybe Sony tried to do that. If I'm not mistaken, Hellblade 1 was like a PlayStation 4 exclusive for a little while before it came to Xbox, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Sony did try, and Ninja Theory's just like, we're not interested. Maybe this is exactly what Ninja Theory wanted to make, an 8-hour linear 30 FPS experience on console. I don't know. I'm assuming it is. Like, I'm assuming Microsoft was pretty hands-off, but I just feel like this is where it's just hard for me to, I don't say accept that, but in the case of Microsoft, I think Microsoft needs that. Like, I guess that's all I'm trying to say is, and it's not just because Microsoft needs that, it's because we need to see that competition put there, like, against Sony. That's, I think, all it really boils down to, is it's just, so Microsoft, when they bought Ninja Theory, the way it should have went is, you guys proved you know how to make single-player, story-driven games. You proved that with Hellblade, and you did so on a smaller budget with a smaller team. Over the next 7 to 8 years, we're going to do that again with Hellblade, but we're gonna go all in. It's going to be a big blockbuster title. That's what it's going to be. And the reason why it should have been that is because Microsoft needed that. They needed it then, and they need it now. And they still don't have it. For as good as Hellblade 2 does look, they still don't have it. And the reason why I, as a PlayStation fan, believe Microsoft needs that is because there's no one competing with Sony on a platform level with games like this. And what I'm trying to say is, Sony doesn't have to worry that much. And I'm not saying that makes me believe Sony's just going to fuck up and say, we're not trying anymore. It's not that. It's just, it becomes a more likely possibility down the line. I hope this is making sense. Because somebody might say, well, what about, like, I don't know, what's like the next big multi-plat single-player cinematic game that's coming out? I don't know. Somebody throw a game out there. I feel like I should know, but my brain's not thinking of anything. Give me like a big AAA story-driven single-player game that's coming from a third-party publisher. RE9. I would use that, but we don't really know exactly what that's going to look like yet. Black Myth Wukong. Marvel 1943, Star Wars Outlaws. Okay. Yeah, those are all pretty good. Okay. Sure. We could go, okay, maybe we could use like Star Wars Outlaws or Marvel 1943. I'm going to go with Marvel 1943 because that is actually being made by Amy Hennig, who worked on Uncharted. So I think there's going to be a lot of similarities there. It looks like it's going to be very story-driven. Now, here's the thing. You might think to yourself, well, does Sony feel pressured by a game like Marvel 1943? The answer is no. And you know why? Because that game's going to sell PS5s. That game's releasing on PS5. That game's going to sell PS5s. Sony's got it locked in. Now, it's not exclusive. I'm just saying, like, it's not competing directly because it's launching on their console. So does that mean Sony's going to turn to Naughty Dog or Sucker Punch and say, we don't care now if your game's good or not? No, it doesn't work like that. It's more subtle. What it does mean is that the less pressure Sony feels from any competing source, the more likely they are to lean back a little bit. Just, all right, hey, we're not shutting shit down. We're not canceling our single player games, but you know what? We're not that worried either. And I'm not saying that Sony should be in a state where they're totally fucking worried, where they're panicked and making dumb decisions. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying it's the Starfield situation all over again, man. Starfield was the closest I saw to maybe Sony. They might have to sweat a little bit here, where it's like, dude, everybody's talking about Starfield. Everybody's hyping up Starfield and everybody's expecting it to be like a game of the generation, and it's not on your platform, Sony, and you have nothing to compete with it. Oh shit. Now, granted, sure, Microsoft bought them and they secured it. Putting that aside, it's like that was the closest I've seen in literally 10 years where it's like, I think the pressure might be, like, Sony might be starting to feel that pressure now, where they might have to try, like, worry about Microsoft here. And then it just was like, oh, no, they don't, it seems. But yeah, man, I guess I'm just trying to say that I thought by the time Hellblade 2 was we got to this point with Hellblade 2, where it's like, here it is, Hellblade 2 is getting ready to launch. I thought the conversation was basically going to be like, holy shit, this is Microsoft's moment of, like, they basically made the type of game that you would expect to come from PlayStation Studios, except it's not on PlayStation, it's Microsoft's. That's what I expected. And I feel like everything I've learned about this game, it's the exact opposite. It's smaller in size, scope, and scale. It's nowhere near AAA in terms of the amount of content it's offering. It's still very much, it's basically like a AAA looking AA game. Not even AA, I'll be honest. Like, even AA games now are expected to be longer than 8 hours. But we could call it AA. But I'm just like, yeah, I'm sorry. I know I'm going on and on about Hellblade. I apologize. But I just, I just can't really, I mean, I will get over it, but it just still kind of sticks in my mind a bit that, like, dude, it's just going to be Sony, man. And I'm going to have to continue to, I mean, look, we're going to have to be the source of pressure for Sony, is what I'm trying to say. Like, we can't rely on Microsoft to compete. They're not going to. I mean, I'm seeing people like already talk about Gear 6, and they're like, wait until you see Gear 6. And it's like, are we really fucking doing this again? Like that, like we're somehow, some way, I'm fucking spitting, somehow, some way, we are seeing people coming out and be like, wait till you see Gear 6. Like, after all this time, after all these acquisitions, after everything, it comes back to Gears? No offense, and maybe it will be I'm sure it will look incredible, but it's like, what? I'm not even trying to shit. I'm sure Gears will be great. Gears has been, I'd say, relatively consistent, but it's like, I'm just so confused by all of this. That's all. Because it's just, I don't, dude, we just went from having the conversation like a couple weeks ago about, is Gears coming to PS5, to now Gears is going to be the fucking next gen moment. And I'm like, what? I can't keep up anymore, dude. The point is this. Let me bring it back to PlayStation, because that is the point I was trying to make, is PlayStation, at some point, if it's not, I don't know if it's already happening. I think some PlayStation fans would say it's already been this way for some time, but PlayStation's going to have to compete with themselves. And that's it. They don't have to compete with EA or Take-Two or any of these companies, because their games are already on their platform. They're not going to have to compete with Microsoft seemingly either, because number one, Microsoft's games are coming to their platform, and number two, Microsoft isn't making games to try to compete with Sony's games. Chris, you're saying it's the worst kind of Sony? Well, I don't know. Again, this is where it's going to be up to us to just kind of try our best to make it known, like, Sony, this is what we expect from you. This is what we want. And yeah, I hope that they continue to deliver that, man. And that will segue me back into the conversation about the showcase. It kind of bleeds right back into it. Like, dude, this is why I am so pushy when it comes to the next PlayStation showcase, where it's like, Sony needs to deliver. And this is why, because this is what some people are starting to think, that Sony doesn't care, or they've lost it. They've lost the spark. They lost the drive, or, they just, it's all just a kind of ABC 1, 2, 3 rinse and repeat situation. I'm like, no, there's no chance. There's no chance. Like, I know that's not how it's going down. I know that's not how it's going down. And I'm ready for Sony to come out and show people that. Totokism Showcase, let's go. 10 out of 10, Hiroki Totoki. I'm going to laugh my ass off if the showcase opens with a message from Hiroki Totoki. He, like, starts to try to take all the credit. Nobbins, are you saying, do you think Hellblade 2 will be like Callisto Protocol? I mean, yeah, in a way, yeah. I actually didn't even think of that. There are some, yeah, Callisto Protocol, Yeah, the Callisto Protocol is a good example of a really big AAA game that's like, this game's huge, like not huge, but like it's definitely like we're trying to meet the modern AAA standard, but there's just too many aspects of it that are like you're a bit behind. And one of the problems with, I don't know, I don't remember how long the Callisto Protocol was. Does anybody remember how long that game was? I feel like it was longer than 8 hours, but it was still, I think, on the shorter side. And look, I'm not saying short games are bad. It's 14 hours. Yeah, that sounds about right. But, you know, in the case of the Callisto Protocol, it was like, all right, you know, 12 to 14 hours, you got the visuals, game looks really good. But then it's like the gameplay and the gameplay loop, it's like something feels like it's kind of not clicking here entirely. And then the story itself was maybe a little bit underwhelming. And then, yeah, so look, I'm going to say this last thing about Hellblade, and then I'm going to move on. I guess I just still have a lot of Hellblade on the mind because of yesterday, but let me say this last thing and I'll move on. Oh, really quick, before I say that though, and this is appropriate, Benino says, just heard an old MBG clip calling an Xbox show. Are you talking about that time when you saying calling an Xbox show? Do you mean like I said my stream or my podcast was an Xbox podcast? I don't know. Is that what you're referring to? I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. Because you're almost making it sound like I called into an Xbox show. I've never called into any shows. So that's the way I'm reading it. But the last thing I want to say about Hellblade 2 is that, and this is just like, what do I think? Do I think Hellblade 2 is going to do well? Do I think it's going to be received well? Yes, I do. Ultimately, I do. I think Hellblade is going to get good reviews, and I think it's probably going. I don't know if it's going to sell well necessarily, but I think it's going to review well. I wouldn't be surprised if Hellblade is sitting at like a 90 or 91. You know, and I feel like that'll be really good for the game, and it'll be really good for Xbox, and it'll be a really good look. But again, it kind of calls into question, like when you look at Metacritic scores, review scores, and this is why I try to tell people, like, you can only take them so seriously, but like, if Hellblade reviews at like an 88, an 89, and 90, we're going to look at, let's say, Ghost of Tsushima. That reviewed at an 83. So we're just going, like, if that's how it pans out, you know, or even if you look at Starfield, what Starfield reviewed at an 83 or an 84, it basically reviewed the same as Ghost of Tsushima. And it's like, in my opinion, like, these things are not the same. And to even like try to, you know, again, like Hellblade 2, if we were to compare it to say something like Ghost of Tsushima, they're not the same. They're not the same to a degree where it's like they're not comparable. And so I think Hellblade 2 is going to do just fine. I think at the end of the day, I and others are feeling underwhelmed by what it's ultimately turning out to be, because I think we just expected more. Doesn't mean it has to be bad. It just means I think there was a higher expectation. But you know what? I will say this. When I played Hellblade 1, and this is, I guess, the difference. When I played Hellblade 1, I didn't have that high of an expectation. I didn't really have much expectation at all. And I was pleasantly surprised, dude. I loved that story. I thought the game was very interesting and unique in what the story was telling, and with the, you know, Senua's journey and whatnot. I enjoyed it. I just can't help but admit that my expectation has changed since then. My expectation for Hellblade 2 was not basically the same game, in the sense it's going to be the same size, the same length, same type of combat. Like, everything I see of Hellblade 2, it tells me it is the same game as the first one in every single way, except it's prettier. And I think that's where I just got kind of fucked up, because I don't know. I guess I was expecting them to come out and be like, we've changed a lot about this game. You know, not just the graphics. Again, that doesn't mean it has to be bad. It just means that my expectations were just off the mark. So, yeah, I guess what it also means is that I should probably keep my expectations in check, you know, for games like State of Decay 3 and whatnot. Hey, it's Andre, you're saying admit the graphics look insane. No, they do. Absolutely. Yeah, no, trust me. If there's one thing I won't say about Hellblade, is that it doesn't look good. Hellblade looks very good. I've been saying that for a long time. Absolutely. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm going to move on now.